The dark side of tradition. In the heart of an enchanting African kingdom, nestled amidst lush green valleys and rolling hills, lived Princess Nomvula. Nomvula's life was far from a fairy tale. Behind the opulent palace walls, a storm raged in her life. She was wedded to Amari, a man whose charm masked his cunning and abusive nature. Nomvula's life became a torrent of heartache. Amari's once captivating words turned into barbs that left scars deeper than any sword could. Nights echoed with her silent tears. The kingdom, however, carried a heavy silence regarding the plight of its women. Even the king, in his younger days, had raised a hand in anger toward his queen. Nomvula knew the truth. She was a woman first, a princess second. The chains of tradition, built by generations of submission, weighed on her shoulders. The societal norms dictated that a man's rule over a woman, even if cruel, was accepted, hidden behind marital walls. Nomvula's determination grew stronger with every sunrise, her heart yearning for more than the life she'd been handed. She had seen the rain cleanse the land after a storm, and she knew that within her flowed the same power of renewal. With each whispered insult, each bruise, her resolve to change her fate intensified. During Amari's frequent absences on his debaucherous escapades, Nomvula found solace in taking long walks. She knew all too well that upon his return, his volatile temper would ignite like a wildfire. One day, while hiking through the kingdom's untamed wilderness, the solution to her torment revealed itself. Nomvula's heart raced as she realized the answer to her suffering lay within these cliffs. She knew exactly what she had to do. 2 days later, Amari returned home, unaware of the brewing storm awaiting him. Nomvula, however, had transformed into the picture of marital bliss. She had become a doting wife, her actions so perfectly scripted that Amari couldn't help but be bewildered. As Amari raised his voice about some trivial matter, Nomvula's response was swift, her eyes cast downward. "I'm sorry, my love," she murmured, her voice laced with feigned contrition. "I should have known better." Amari was taken aback by this abrupt change in her demeanor. He reclined on his grand throne-like chair, a goblet of wine in hand, an arrogant grin dancing on his lips. "Ah, Nomvula," he began, his voice dripping with condescension. "This is what a wife is supposed to be, obedient and eager to please her husband. It took you long enough to realize it. In this house, you are not a princess but a wife and a servant to your husband." Nomvula, standing nearby, maintained her facade. "You're right, my husband," she replied softly, her eyes downcast. "I should have understood my place sooner." Amari's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He leaned forward, his tone taking on a patronizing tone. "I'm proud of you, Nomvula. If you keep this up, maybe I won't have to teach you any more lessons," he said, a sinister hint lurking beneath his words. Inside, Nomvula seethed with anger, her heart pounding like a war drum. She managed a demure smile, concealing her true feelings. "Thank you, my husband," she murmured. Days turned into weeks, and Nomvula's charade continued. She served Amari's every whim, anticipating his desires before he even spoke them. She watched as he grew complacent, believing that he had finally broken her spirit. But little did he know, Nomvula's resolve had never been stronger. She knew that her moment of reckoning was fast approaching, and when it arrived, she would be ready. As the sun rose in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Nomvula suggested a romantic picnic atop the mountain. She hoped to recreate the idyllic moments they had shared during their courtship in the palace garden. The mountain was known among the locals for its treacherous cliffs, and they often discouraged any visits, but fortunately for Nomvula, Amari was not a local and remained blissfully ignorant of the danger. "Come, my husband, it will be such fun," Nomvula coaxed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Amari hesitated briefly, but he couldn't resist the sparkle in his wife's eyes. He agreed with a smile, and Nomvula quickly packed a picnic basket for their adventure. As they ascended the mountain, Nomvula laughed at all of Amari's jokes, and for the first time in a long while, Amari felt genuinely happy. Nomvula and Amari finally reached the mountain's peak, their chests heaving with exertion. Nomvula gently set the picnic basket down and, with a playful gleam in her eye, she tugged Amari closer to the edge of the cliff. "I want to show you something," she said, her voice dancing with excitement. Amari, still catching his breath, protested, "Could we not eat first? I'm famished." Nomvula laughed softly, her laughter like a melody carried by the wind. "Come on," she urged, her hand still firmly in his. "This can't wait." Reluctantly, Amari followed her to the edge. As he peered out over the vast expanse of the kingdom below, his breath caught in his throat. The panoramic view stretched as far as the eye could see, the rolling hills and villages bathed in the golden glow of the morning sun. This is incredible, Amari finally managed to say, his voice filled with awe. The sight before him was breathtaking, and for a moment, the hunger in his belly was forgotten. This is my father's kingdom, Nomvula said with pride, her heart heavy with the knowledge of what she had to do. Amari grinned, his eyes filled with ambition. I cannot wait for it to be all mine, he declared, unknowingly sealing his fate. Nomvula closed her eyes for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that this was her moment, her only chance to free herself from the clutches of this manipulative man. She replayed all the abuse she had suffered at his hands, both physical and verbal, the pain and fear she had endured. As Nomvula stood there on the precipice, her heart heavy with the weight of her decision, she couldn't bring herself to go through with it. In the final moments, she changed her mind. Instead of pushing Amari over the cliff, she led him away from the edge, and they sat down together. Nomvula, like the skilled actress she had become, laughed at his jokes, masking the turmoil within her heart. This would be the last meal they shared as husband and wife. In a move that would resonate through the kingdom's history, the next day Nomvula announced her decision to leave her husband to her father and the gathered elders. The idea of terminating her marriage had crossed her mind repeatedly. From a young age, she had been ingrained with the belief that, as the princess, she must set the standard for all to admire. However, she had grown weary of living a life built on pretense and deceit, all to appease others and conform to tradition. The elders, aware of her suffering, were torn. Leaving a spouse was virtually unheard of in their tradition, and many were uncomfortable with the idea. The king was acutely aware that by permitting this, he was unsettling the delicate balance of power within the kingdom. The matter of Nomvula had plagued his sleepless nights, weighing heavily on his conscience. In a surprising move, the king permitted Nomvula's decision to prevail, even in the face of the council members' vehement disapproval. Amari, realizing his grip on power was slipping away, attempted to protest, but he was restrained by the guards. As he was escorted away, he pleaded with Nomvula, his words falling upon deaf ears. Exiled from the kingdom, Amari found himself divorced and in utter disgrace, stripped of his possessions and wealth bestowed to him by the king. With a newfound purpose born from her own pain, Nomvula vowed to help others trapped in similar circumstances. She would be a beacon of hope and a voice for those who suffered in silence, working tirelessly to ensure that no one else had to endure the torment she had faced. Thank you for watching our story, The Dark Side of Tradition, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time, in the Savannah.